Welcome back to the Other Rough Podcast. My name is Nate. Joining me as always is my co-host Jake. Jake, how are we doing today?
We're doing good. Let's start the show off with congrats to Rory McIlroy from going to what felt like impossible for him to do to going back to back. Very impressive, overcoming for him. Just, very, very exciting. If you love golf, you know Rory McIlroy. He's a top name. He's easily cemented himself in the golf greats, especially after this back-to-back win at the Masters. He becomes the fourth player to do that. So again, Nate and I were talking before the show started. It was just a rotation of guys getting into the mix and then throwing up all over themselves. And it even got to that point with Rory where, I had a Cam Young ticket. He was tied for the lead to going into Sunday. And, I thought I had my chances. He had a two-stroke lead for all of about 6 minutes, to which he gave that up. And it just became a rotation of, okay, Cam Young had it, threw up all over himself. Now Justin Rose has it, he threw up all over himself. And now we have Rory, who again blew it to start, regained that lead. And was saying to my friends, I'm like, this is just a rotation of guys who are just punting this away. And like, Cam Young could easily be that guy to step up, but really, there's so many guys in contention. There was Henley, there was, Rose, Rory, all these guys. And then it just felt like Rory realized, like, okay, I just need to shoot even par and not shoot myself in the foot here to win this tournament. And that's exactly what he did. He held on to 13 under. Scotty, again, he played his D minus game, arguably F game. He started out strong. He did nothing from holes 4 or 5 through 14, woke up at the end and gave himself a shot. He fell one stroke short. But again, this is a scary sight for all of us coming into a cluster of elevated events and majors where Scotty looks like he's got his swagger back and that 4-1, 3-1 number every single week that didn't seem so scary at the beginning of the year is now becoming the oh crap, Scotty might actually run away with every tournament again.
Yeah, you mentioned it right there. We have, of course, the Masters last week, RPC this week. 2 weeks time, we were in Miami for the new Miami Championship elevated event. We're on to the PGA. Then we have elevated events after that, U.S. Open. Like we're in the heart of the PGA Tour schedule now, where we're going to see Scotty Scheffler quite often for the remainder of the season, right? And you mentioned it. It wasn't the best Scotty we have seen all season long. We've seen better Scotties than we did at the Masters, and he still almost came out backdoor, won that event. Roy McIlroy didn't do anything, in my opinion, to win an event. He just kind of held on, as you mentioned. He was playing level par. He's played that course so much over the last month that he knew what he needed to do to maintain that lead, not maintain the lead, maintain status quo. And that's exactly what he did. He basically did what Matt Fitzpatrick did at TPC Sawgrass to Cam Young, was like, hey, I'm going to win this event. I'm going to play the safe route. If someone wants it, come and get it. And those who tried to come and get it just kept falling on themselves time and time again. You mentioned Justin Rose got there and threw up all over himself again. Cam Young was right there with the lead. He blew it away. Russell Henley made a charge and then bogeyed and then kind of fell on himself. A lot of names got themselves in contention, climbed that leaderboard, and just no one could do it, with Rory McIlroy just hitting cruise control and hitting the safe shot after safe shot after safe shot. You know, again, it wasn't the most exciting Masters in the slightest at all. There was rarely any drama, I guess you would say, on Sunday. We were like, all right, here comes the back nine. As you know, at my party, this is things are gonna get fun, right? And it just nothing changed. It was Rory sitting there and guys getting close, then falling on themselves time and time again. But again, you have to say congratulations to Rory McIlroy, no matter how you feel about the guy. Fourth back-to-back Masters winner. I mean, obviously there's been four in the history of 90 tournaments, right? So I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. And if you mentioned it, from 2015 to 2025, we thought this event would never happen. The Grand Slam would never happen. Rory McIlroy would just never win the Masters, and here we are, two-time Masters winner, getting that monkey off his back last year, and just coming back and do it again this year. But all right, it is what it is. We're past Masters. No outright again for Jake and I to report this week, but we move on to the RBC Heritage. It's scary because Scotty Scheffler, 2 years ago, he won the Masters and then won this event like the next week. Like most people would just, you know, it's the following week, just either take it off to win the Masters or just go hit cruise control, collect your check through the elevated event and move on. No, Scotty Scheffler won the Masters and then he went out and won the RBC Heritage. So you know he's going to come and play. He's going to come and try to win this event as he did 2 years ago. So hopefully, uh, for us in the golf betting realm that Scotty doesn't come here and run by a touchdown, which very well could happen. But before we do hop into all things RPC Heritage, Jake, where can we find you on social media?
Yep, you can find me on X at JakeOOTR, where I post my outright betting cards. Make sure to give me a follow there. You could also join the Out of the Rough Discord. It's completely free to join with over 275 members, sharing insight every single week. We've got a community wager tracker in there that Nate upkeeps, tracks everyone's picks. Nate and I also have exclusive content in there, including matchup plays and first round leaders. Also, be sure to check out ootrough.com for our weekly articles, everything from PGA Tour and DFS to on the Corn Ferry Tour, DP World Tour, Live and LPGA coverage, and PGA coverage. I missed that one in there. But anyway, everything you need on the website, or just reach out to Nate or myself. We'll get you the link to join the Discord too, a free resource to have.
Yeah, Jake, I need to give a massive shout out to WKF Cody, who runs the NASCAR channel on our Discord. I saw Jake post in the NASCAR chat, like, hey, Cody, I'm going to tell you this week, I don't think I've ever played NASCAR before. I'm like, hey, Jake's going to do it. I'll do it too. And guess what? Cody tipped another winner in NASCAR. He is up massive on the season so far. And Jake and I walked away saving our Masters week with a NASCAR hit that we had no clue was coming. But that's a big shout out to Cody for that. So make sure you're getting in the Discord for not only our golf content, exclusive stuff, as you mentioned, and the best community on golf betting, may I add. There's also a NASCAR channel under the win by Cody, who is doing really well for himself. The website also has our Out of the Rough One and Done series on there, weekly competition where you pick a different golfer for the PGA Tour and DP World Tour, separate events, but that's on there. Prize on the line, prize money used as scoring. We have a lot of content left and right. Ask to join our newsletter. You can also find that submission form on the website, ootrough.com. Click the newsletter, put your email in there, and you'll receive that every Tuesday morning. And yeah, shout out to Andrew All Tour Golf Bets doing the Corn Ferry Tour Hotel Player Tour on the website as well. And yeah, let's hop into all things RPC Heritage. Oh, I forgot to mention, you can follow myself, Nate, on Twitter at NateOOTR. That's a big one now. All right, RPC Heritage, we know what we're doing here. This used to be like a ho hum. We're going to travel to the lowlands of South Carolina after the Masters, have a nice little relaxing vacation while collecting a check and playing some golf. But a few years ago, with the introduction of the elevated slash signature events, this event had been deemed one of those, and therefore it is now held in a $20 million purse, and that kind of ho humness about the event has gone away for sure. Harbortown Golf Links in Hilton Head Islands, just a mere 142 miles from Augusta National, has been a staple of the PGA Tour since 1969. Again, this is a signature event, so we're going to see the world's best. You mentioned Scotty Scheffler will be here. And at this point, if you've seen the signature event and know their fields, you know who is going to be here this week. Most notably, Rory McIlroy will not be here this week, and this was even before he won the Masters. He just wasn't going to play this event, and I don't think he has, or since the introduction of the elevated event at here. Hideki Matsuyama, same thing. I don't think he's ever played this event. And Justin Rose, I think, recently withdrew as well from this event. So three of the top probably 20 golfers in the world won't be here this week. Justin Thomas, defending champion, held off Andrew Novak in a playoff a season ago. Some other former winners, of course, the aforementioned Scotty Scheffler in 24, Matt Fitzpatrick in 23, and Jordan Spieth in 2022. So Harbortown Golf Links is a course that makes up for its lack of length with tight fairways and the smallest greens on the entire PGA Tour, a par 71 that comes in about 7,100 yards. The size of the greens is the biggest defense this golf course has to offer. As previously mentioned, the greens are the smallest on tour, and being smaller in size, they are contoured in a way to challenge even the game's best putters. Along with the challenge of the greens, the combination of the fairways being both tight and tree-lined with overhanging mossy oaks makes getting off the tee a challenge. The course annually ranks as the venue with the fewest drives over 300 yards and the shortest average driving distance on the PGA Tour each season. The average driving distance here at Harbor Town is 268 yards, as the PGA Tour average sits about 302, so a massive decrease there. So finding the fairway at any track is important, but few courses on the PGA Tour, there are very few courses in the PGA Tour where driving means very little. Like Harbor Town, traditionally speaking, from a statistics standpoint, strokes gained off the tee means less than strokes gained around the green among top 10 finishers here at Harbor Town, and that is very rare in the PGA Tour. Very, very rare. A lot of holes this week are structured in a way where being in the right rough generates better birdie opportunities than being situated in the left side of the fairway. The greens and regulation at Harbor Town, of course, is among the lowest on tour because of the smaller greens. Um, yeah, and then in the end, Players are treated to the picturesque 18th hole with the sits flush against the Calaboogie Sound, along with the famed red and white lighthouse standing sentry over the green. This creates one of the most scenic settings on all the PGA Tour. And of course, the green jacket was awarded last week. The plaid jacket gets rewarded this week. So I mean, I think plaid looks better than green. So we'll see who comes away with that jacket this week. Jake, anything to add about the course, event, field, anything like that?
No, I think you covered it all.
All right, so let's move on to our betting cards this week, guys. And I forgot to mention no DP World Tour this week. We'll be back in action, I think, next week for that. So if you're a DP World Tour guy, sit through our PGA Tour picks, and we'll be back next week for you there. So another shorter one on the Out of the Rough podcast for you guys. So Jake, I think you mentioned you had four guys. I have five. So again, I'll kick things off here, and we'll just kick things off with our one and only crossover this week. And again, if you listened to this podcast before or you've read one of my articles, you know I'm going with Matt Fitzpatrick this week. I have him 24 to 1. Jake, where do you have him?
Yeah, I boosted him up to 30, but he was at 20.
Ooh, I would have enjoyed that.
Yep.
Anyways, I'm back on the Fitzpatrick train, not plane. I guess you could say plane. He placed 18th last week at the Masters. Prior to that, he won the Valspar, second at the Players, 41st at the API, 24th at Genesis, 14th in Pebble, ninth at Phoenix, and 63rd American Express. Currently first on tour in ball striking. He's second in green regulations and good drives gained. Seventh on approach, ninth in proximity the hole from 125 to 200. 15th in bogey avoidance, 22nd around the green, 31st in strokes gained putting Bermuda, and 51st in scrambling. So what I'm saying is this guy is on a new or a whole nother level right now. 38th at this event a season ago, 28th in 2024. He won in 2023. Missed a cut in 22, was fourth in 2021 and 14th in 2020 at this. And per my stats based model this week, Jake, he's my overall favorite to win. And that is, of course, with Scotty Scheffler on that model as well. But I'm still very scared of Scotty Scheffler. But I mean, I've bet Matt Fitzpatrick a ton this season. I can't stop now, especially at a golf course where he is won, where he is per my model, the overall favorite. I simply could not ignore this line and move on. And again, I still think at 20 to 24 to 25, somewhere in that range, is a super sweet spot. And there's still a ton of meat in the bone for someone like Matt Fitzpatrick, who arguably right now is playing the top five golfer in the world.
100% Nate. I'm with you there. He ranked number one in my model as well, including Scotty Scheffler. Everything just points to him having success at this golf course here, which he's also shown that he's done. You mentioned that he won already here. The only cause for concern, just to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, 94th in strokes gained putting this year. Again, flat stick runs hot, runs cold. That's the area of the game that fluctuates the most. So if Fitzpatrick starts making putts this week on some, easier Bermuda greens than what we saw last week, sky's the limit. I really think that there's a good chance that he wins. And I know, Nate, we say it every single week and haven't had success, but let's get a crossover here. It just makes a lot of
Anything at this
sense.
point.
Yeah,
Part of me just wants to bet, like, the entire field just to see one go through, and then we'll regroup the week after.
exactly. Moving into my first play here, actually, a little bit worse odds than Fitzpatrick. I took Henley at 22 to 1. I think he's steamed down a little bit towards 18. Don't love it as much as at 18, but again, don't let 4 points ruin it if what I tell you makes a lot of sense. He's coming in number two in my model, so I'm taking number one and number two. He's just been playing some very solid golf. Obviously, last week at the Masters was a flash that, it stuck with me. He gained the most strokes on approach in the field last week. Again, that's super important when you come to Harbour Town, like Nate mentioned. Off the tee isn't all that important if you're finding fairways, which Russell Henley, one of the best at finding fairways on tours. The irons were scorching hot. We talked about it before the pod started, Nate. He had that look in his eye after every single iron shot that he thought he put it within 2 or 3 feet. He didn't necessarily put it that close, and he wasn't able to make enough putts to propel himself up. But again, those Augusta greens are super tricky. Overall, he has a really, really competent and close to elite short game, I'd argue, for Henley, both around the greens and with the putter. So moving on to a little bit of an easier venue in that case for him there, if he can carry this scorching hot irons, he gained over 2.5 strokes per round, like just something nuclear to that degree. I love him this week at the number, and I think that there's plenty of meat on the bone at 22 I got him at, but even 18 I would say that's okay.
For sure. I mean, just watching him visually at the Masters, you just knew he was on a different approach level than everyone else in the field. Just again, he was putting the ball 4 to 6 feet, just couldn't convert any of those birdie opportunities, but he was giving himself birdie opportunities on almost every green. So it was rather impressive what he was doing. And again, you could just see that without having to look at like a stats thing to know how well he was doing compared to the rest of the field. But yeah, I mean, I love to play. I would have loved to, stacked Matt and Russell myself. I went a different route, of course, but again, I can't doubt you or blame you for that because I mean, who wouldn't want to stack those two at this golf course? All right, my next play here is Victor Hovland, 45 to 1. And again, I'm, a fan of finding guys who are really, really good in one thing and, okay around that. And that's the case here with Victor Hovland, who is currently first on tour and proximate the hole from 125 to 200 yards. Those, mid to long, semi long approach shots are dialed with Hovland. And he's another guy that when he's on, he's one of the best pure ball strikers and iron players on the PGA Tour or the entire world of golf. But yeah, there's just no one better from 125 to 200. He's also 19th on tour and approach. He's 33rd around the green, 40th in scrambling, 45th in bogey avoidance, 63rd in stroke gained putting Bermuda, 67th ball striking, 96 good drives, and 100th in green regulations. 18th last week of the Masters, really quietly. Missed the cut of the Valspar. Prior to that, 13th of the Players, 13th of the API, 41st of the Genesis, 58th in Pebble, and 10th in Phoenix. He was 13th here a season ago, 59th in 2023, and 21st in 2022. So some decent performances here, nothing crazy. But again, Victor Hobbs is a guy that kind of just lurks behind and randomly has a month stretch of, insane golf. We saw it last year with the spike win at the Valero, I believe it was. So we'll see if he can have that type of performance here. I think the course fits him well, the way he's playing. Again, those irons from 125 to 200 are the best on the PGA Tour. And at 45 to 1, that's a big number to take a chance on a talent like Victor Hovland if everything were to be put together. And as he shows up this week at Harbour Town, we can only hope so. So that's my second play here, Jake.
Yeah, Nate, he was the first one off my card, and it was either him and another guy in that middle tier or taking both Henley and Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I was
So
the
I went
same
that route,
way.
you went this route.
Yep.
He, again, when Hovland's irons are clicking, he's, if one of, if not the best iron player. That's super important come here. My cause for concern with him, again, the around the green, which is much improved this season. But again, Harbour Town's a little tricky around the greens, and they're very small. But that being said, he's a fairway finder, and if those irons are dialed, he doesn't have to worry about around the green because he's sticking it every hole. He's he is a huge talent on the PGA Tour, seven-time winner. If he's in contention, again, there's no monkey on the back of him winning a golf tournament. If he's in control, and he's going to do it. So I think it's a more than fair number on Hovland this week.
For sure. When I saw 45, I was kind of dumbfounded a little bit and kind of, stuck my eye there. And I was like, I just got to do it.
Yeah, yep, I agree. Moving into my third play here, I've got Daniel Berger. I just loaded up the course history here and I was like, what the heck? Like, but when you think about it, when you're looking at, guys who hit fairways and who have nuclear irons, Daniel Berger fits that bill like to a T. He has two top three finishes here in 2025 and then back in 2020. Sandwiched in between those, a T21 back in 2022 and a T13 back in 2021. Again, this season has been an absolute mixed bag for Berger. I got him at 94 to 1, and I'm happy to take a shot on a guy at just under 100 to 1 here for a guy who has spike finishes at the API where he finished runner up. He should have taken that tournament. He played it like an absolute loser, respectfully. He should have played way more aggressive on hole 18 and given himself self a chance to win. Instead, lost in a playoff there. He opened the season with a T6 at the Sony Open in Hawaii. Another great finish there. But then there's a bunch of missed cuts and just making the cut and not playing well, including at the Masters last week. It was not his finest finish, but again, able to get to Harbour Town early, fix what's wrong. He's a nuclear approach player. He hits fairways. It comes down to the short game for him. And outside of the Masters last week, he started to figure it out with the putter and around the green just a little bit. Then I'm hoping he could throw out those tricky Augusta greens and maybe get back to his form at 100 to 1 here. It's been a while for Daniel Berger, and I think that it is coming. I'm kind of just taking my shot that it's going to happen this week versus a little bit further down the line.
For sure. Berger's a guy that pops in models quite often because of like you said, the talented approach play, and we favor that heavily almost each and every week when it comes to these PGA Tour models. And I was very excited about playing him at the Valero, I believe it was. Again, a track kid, great course history, and then he withdrew prior to that. But again, when it comes to course history, Harbortown is a golf course where course history actually means something. I mean, it's not like it's the end all here with some courses, but it does have a bit of a tang to it when it comes to Harbor Town. So I do like that play. And again, Daniel Berger just spikes. He has massive weeks and then disappears for a month and comes back with two great performances. So I think he's on the latter end of coming off the weaker performances, and we'll see if he spikes this week and finally gets across that win column for the first time in quite some time.
Yep.
All right, next play for me is Chris Goddard at 50 to 1. He was rather impressive last week at his Augusta National debut with a 24th there. Prior to that, he was 6th at the Texas Children Houston Open, 56th of the Players, 18th at the API, Mystic at the Genesis, 37th at the Pebble. Of course, he won the Phoenix Open, 18th at the Farmers, won the Sony Open Hawaii, so a two-time winner of the season. But he's currently 26th on tour around the green, 29th in strokes gained putting Bermuda, 30th in all three of approach, green regulations, and ball striking. 36 in Poggy Avoidance, 80th in Scrambling, 102 in Proximate Hole from 125 to 200, and 106 in Good Drives. Making his tournament debut this week. Again, a super talent at 50 to 1. This is where I doubled up with Hovland and Goddard opposed to going with someone like Russell Henley in your route. And again, maybe Goddard doesn't fit this golf course to a T with the way he plays, kind of mash the ball and things like that. But there are ways to get around this golf course. And if it were to be clubbing down, and I just think Goddard is an elite talent. I think he's, I wouldn't say on a superstar projection, but he's definitely on a star projectile to get there with the PJ Tour as a top 10 to 15 talent, I believe, when it's all said and done, excuse me. So I think he is one of those guys who can quite honestly be course proof in a way. He's just a fun golfer. There's something about him that just gives this aura, as the kids are saying these days, about everything. So I'm hoping at 50 to 1, I just took the talent over most things. I mean, the stats do line up a little bit, and it's not like he's horrible at finding fairways. What was his good drives? I might have forgot to list that here, but yeah, just a good ball striker, a good approach player, decent. I mean, good around the greens, a good putter in Bermuda. Everything kind of checks out. I forgot to have a good week.
Yeah, Nate, he has 3 wins in his last 20
And
starts or
that too.
so. It's like this guy is a winner. And it's not just the distance off the tee that carries him. And like you said, that might help his off the tee numbers, but he's also a phenomenal iron player. He's gained in like 8 straight in that category. He's very competent around the greens and with the putter. So this is a super talented guy, like you mentioned, and at 50 to 1, it's a shot worth taking because if he is finding fairways, this is a place that, Harbor Town is not like you need to hit fairways, right? That's what everyone keeps saying. You can't overpower it, but distance doesn't hurt either here. If you're
No,
finding
no.
the fairways with distance, it's a great combination to have here. And Goddard, if he's doing that, could easily win his fourth tournament in 20 or so starts.
Yeah, there's always exceptions to the rule. We talk about, these positional golf courses and how you define the fairways. But then you get someone who rips the ball over a corner and takes some trees on and cuts off 50 yards because he cut a corner. I mean, that's going to be better than, plotting yourself, 200 yards this way opposed to a guy who's 320 yards down the fairway because he took a chance. Same thing about these golf courses where like, oh, distance, distance, distance off the tee. And then you have someone that comes out here and plots at 280 around the golf course and wins by a touchdown because they never found trouble along the way. So again, we'll say these stats all we want and litter your pages with all of that, but there's always exceptions to the rule. And maybe this week, Chris Goddard could be one of those.
Yep, I'm with you there. Moving on to my final play here, it's Sudarshan Yellow Mirage. I don't know how to say his name yet, but if they
We'll
say
get
it,
there someday. We've bet him enough. We should be getting there.
yeah, exactly. He ranks ninth in my model. Do I think that he has legitimate win equity? That's up for grabs, but at over 100 to 1, I'm still happy to take my shot here for a guy who's just he's just playing ridiculous golf. He's a great story. I know we've talked about it at nauseum. I'm not going to repeat it here,
Yeah.
but just listen to his strokes gained data on the year. It's 15th in strokes gained total, 30th off the tee, 26th on approach, 117th around the greens. That's a disaster, but 13th with the putter. So everything is in the top 30 outside of around the green for a PGA Tour rookie. He has a bunch of phenomenal starts on the year so far. A fifth at the Players, a sixth at the Texas Children's Houston Open, a 14th at the Valero. A guy who did not play Augusta last week, so he's coming in a little bit fresher than some of these guys who had to battle Augusta all week. I'm just taking a shot. The numbers are screaming that he should be playing well and he should be winning soon. Do I think that this is a good field for him to break through in? Probably not. But at the same time, if you told me he was going to finish T5 at the Players, I probably would have called you
Yeah.
insane. So here we are, 115 to 1. I'm taking a shot. No course history, obviously, but looking to make his start here on a course that he should profile decently well for.
And I say this every week, Jake. If you have someone that's over 100 to 1, there's a reason. I'm not going to debate that, is what I'm trying to get at. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, no, that's a horrible pick. Over 100 to 1, like, it's a dart throw at that point, right? There's obviously a reason that golfer is ranked or priced to where he is. If he was a better golfer than that, he wouldn't be ranked there, right?
Right.
Or whatever the meaning behind it is. But again, I can't come out here and bash you for any reason. And again, he popped in my model, and I just simply was like, do I think he could come out here and beat, say, Scotty Scheffler or one of those guys down the stretch? I don't believe so, or he hasn't. So I just kind of skipped over that. But again, the stats tell me otherwise, and maybe I'll be eating my words come Sunday.
Yeah, this is one where if he holds a lead, I am not
Oh
holding
God.
for a damn second. But anyway, maybe he could backdoor it.
There we go. Yeah, two guys left for me, so I'll rattle these guys off quick. And I was really surprised by some of these pricing here. First off is Ryan Gerard, 100 to 1, who was like the early season darling. People were betting him left and right at like 30, 35 to 1. And here we are midway through the season, 100 to 1. Currently third on tour in proximity to the hole from 125 to 200. He's eighth in good drives, 12th on approach and green regulations, 13th in ball striking, 53rd in bogey avoidance, 72nd in stroke gain putting Bermuda. The around the green's a really big problem here for Ryan Gerard. 128 in scrambling, 134 around the green, but everything else is, elite. Those 125 to 200 irons, good, finds fairways. His approach number is elite. Ball striking's elite. Like, this is a good course for him outside of around the green. Again, priced at 100 to 1, so that's baked into it. We'll move on. Played the Masters last week where he placed 38th. Love to see it. Prior to that, missed the cut the Texas Children's Houston Open. 27th of the Players, 51st of the API, 23rd of Cognizant, 28th of Genesis, 45th of Pebble. And then we get into why, everyone was on him early this season. 11th at the Farmers, 2nd at the American Express, and 2nd at the Sony Open Hawaii. 27th here a season ago, so a little bit of course history. But everything here, 100 to 1, the stats are lining up for Ryan Gerard to have a good week. Again, he has, what was it, like four straight runner-ups, including DP World Tour, like earlier this season with those two I listed already. So again, he's kind of come back to earth after that, but things are checking out here. I think this is a great course fit. And again, we're taking a chance at 100 to 1 for a guy who is an elite iron player.
Yeah, Nate, if he could find himself around the greens, that's where he tends to struggle and bleed strokes here. But he popped really high on my model. I gave him a really strong look. I went with a little bit of a different route in my long shots, but again, a nuclear approach player, super important this week. I think he has a really strong finish.
And my final play here is going to be a popular one. It's Brian Harman 125 to 1. And I gave him a shout because of the course history. Third a season ago, 12th in 24, 7th in 23, 35th in 22, 13th in 21, and 28th in 2020. I know he's from Georgia, but this is essentially Georgia here in South Carolina. So he's familiar with these type of golf courses. I'm sure he played this golf course growing up at some point in his amateur career. So he's been around the area. He knows this type of golf, United States golf. Uh, 33rd last week of the Masters, 20 or 39th of the Valero, 11th of the Players. Again, this is more of a course history fit than what the stats tell me because he's currently 56 on tour around the green, 59th in approximately the hole from 125 to 200, 70th in good drive, 79th in stroke gained putting Bermuda, 100th in approach. Like, they're not horrible stats, but they're nothing that's going to blow you away. It's about tour average and about everything he does. But what he does really well is he finds fairways. And when he's going, he finds the fairways, he finds green regulations, and he hits some putts, as we saw the 23 Open. And again, if the weather is to be a factor this week, as I'm not sure it's going to be with the forecast, but who knows? It's still a kind of a coastal golf course. And it's a linked style. If you need to come out here and find some fairways and have some low ball projections, Ryan Harmon can do that with the best of them. Like if that's the case here, he can come out here and have those low ball flights and set him up perfectly to win this golf course or golf event, just as he did the Open in 23, where he ran away with that event by 6 strokes or whatever it was. So again, 125 to 1 for a guy who absolutely loves this golf course, loves this type of golf in this area. I had to do it again. If you're looking to avoid the GTC's Wheel of Death, I'm almost certain he's going to be on there because the number's so big with the course history. But again, it is Brian Harman, and people hate him because it takes him 25 hours to play a round of golf. So again,
Yep.
if you are on him and you're, trying to sweat it out on Sunday, it gets dreadful. The only thing that helped me in 23 when I had him at the Master or the Open was the fact that he was leading by so much. So yeah, if we're trying to sweat him out with a one-stroke lead and he takes 35 waggles before he hits a stroke, it gets rough. But again, if he goes on to win this one at 125 after I hit, 23 at 120 at the Open, he'll have to become one of my favorite golfers no matter how slow he is.
Yeah, he'll be cemented on the wall there, Nate.
Yeah, and
But
he right
like the
here by
show.
my Brian Harmon shrine right here, the mustard yellow.
Exactly, with the two tickets next to his face.
There it is. All right, guys. Well, that's it for the RPC Heritage. Next week is the Zurich Classic of New Orleans. Always forget that part. The one team event on the PGA Tour. Jake, while I finish this up, what is the DP World Tour event?
It is the Volvo China Open.
There it is. The Volvo trying to open to the DP World Tour is back in action. Golf is going to get hot and heavy. Like every tour is going to be going for the next 2 months straight. After the Zurich, we have the Miami Championship at the Blue Monster, where Jake played somewhat recently down there. So we'll have a little bit of insider information on that. Hopefully, we have a winner by then, but hopefully, if not, he can give us a little insider information to get a winner there across the finish line. But yes, golf is coming hot and heavy. We got the Masters out of the way. So now it's, jam-packed schedules from the PJ Tour, DP World Tour, LPGA, Live, Corn Ferry, Hotel Planner, you name it, we have you covered. Heck, I even did a PGA Champions Tour major preview this week. Just trying to dabble elsewhere because the PGA Tour isn't doing it for me or the DP World Tour. All my winners this year have been on the LPGA, the Live Golf Tour. So we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, Jake, one more time, find you on social media.
Yep, you can follow me on X at JakeOOTR, where I share all my outright betting cards. I'd encourage you to join the Out of the Rough Discord as well. 100% free with no hidden paywalls. The community includes 275 plus members and is an excellent free resource to have at your disposal. Just reach out to Nate or myself and we'll get you the link to join that.
For sure. And you can find myself, Nate, on Twitter at NateOOTR. Be sure to check out OOTRough.com, guys. We put so much information on work in there between myself, Jake, and Andrew with the articles, the strokes gained putting per grass type, the out of the rough one and done, the newsletter. Like there is so much free information on there. It is mind-boggling. And then beyond that, the Discord also has exclusive full placement charts for every tour we cover, exclusive content with first round leaders and all that. All of this, everything we talk about from this podcast to everything we do is free, guys. So just check it out. Hit a like, hit a subscribe button, something like that, just to, you know, give us something to keep working towards. But we appreciate everything. And yeah, let's have a week, and hopefully we come back next week, Jake, with some better news to report here.
Yes.
All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you.